Rakatha Yahweh, Rakatha Yahweh Shah, Rakatha Yahweh, Rakatha Yahweh Shah. Now the 12 tribes of Israel, they are a special people unto the Most High God, Yahweh. And you have 12 tribes. Now the scriptures say that the nations knew that these nations or these tribes was God's chosen people, and they got together and came up with crafty counsel to pretty much steal the identity of these individuals and eliminate the identity of these individuals. When you go to Psalms 83, verses 1 through 7, it gives you pretty much the scriptures break down how the nations was gathered together against the children of Israel. Now we're gonna go to Psalms 83 and look at the conspiracy that these individuals came up with to pretty much destroy the nation of Israel, because they was God's chosen people. They was the ones that God chose to deal with out of all the other nations and families on the earth. Psalms 83, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. The tabernacles or house or families of Edom and of Ishmaelites and of Moab and of Hagarenes and Cabal and Ammon and Amalek and Philistine with the inhabitants of Tyre. Now, the scriptures say Judah would be the top tribe of the 12 tribes, and that God is known in Judah. So when you realize who Judah is, God will be known by Judah. Judah will get the clear understanding of who God is. Judah would be the first to break down the scriptures and understand the scriptures. And so Judah would be the leader and bring all the other 12 tribes together. And the other 12 tribes would follow Judah. And so when you look at that, the Negroes was brought here on slave ships, according to Deuteronomy 28:68, to be slaves and serve their enemies. And in 1969, they start calling themselves the Israelites and understanding the fullness of the scriptures. And so all the other tribes are now joining together and coming together. But the nations, like the United Nations and the EU and the governments of the world, they all conspire against Judah and against the American Negroes to keep them away from that name, keep them away from knowing who they are, so they won't fully awaken and uh, join the other tribes together. But they have awakened, and they are joining the tribes together as we speak. Now, the other nations made some wonderful statements, and it's pretty much what they're saying today. They said it 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago about the nation of Israel, that nobody can compare to the nation of Israel. Lamentations 2:15, all that pass by clap their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, Is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? So the nations, when they seen that the nation of Israel was destroyed, they was amazed how this nation was destroyed and conducting itself, because that was their plan the whole time. 2 Samuel 7:23, and what one nation in the earth is like thy people, even like Israel, whom God went to redeem for a people to himself, and to make him a name, and to do for you great things and terrible for thy land before thy people, which thou redeemest to thee from Egypt, from the nations and their gods. 24, for thou hast confirmed to thyself thy people Israel, to be a people unto you forever. You see, then you go to Deuteronomy 7:6, and it says, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all that are upon the face of the earth. You take it to New Testament, 1 Peter 2:9. Peter says, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye shall be shown forth praises unto him who have called you out of the darkness into his marvelous light. So the nation of Israel is the greatest people on the planet, and God has chosen them to be a kingdom of kings and priests, to be a lawgiver on earth. You see, that's what this nation was chosen to do, and the other nations and families on the earth have conspired to get rid of this nation. You see, so they can rule together, when that wasn't the purpose for the earth. The purpose for the earth was that the nation of Israel would be kings and priests to all the other families of the earth, and to dominate them and have rulership over them. But I'm going to leave it there. All praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Kakadash, double honor to the elders pushing the truth. Peace to the elect worldwide. The kingdom is at hand. Shalom.